What's up, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore, and you know what? It's again one of those late night episodes, and I'm kind of enjoying the sound of the AC in the background at the moment just because it's quiet, everyone else is asleep, got the house to myself, and so I'm going through my notes right now. So, obviously, as always, thank you so much for joining in, for listening in from wherever you are, whether it's on your commute or if you're just sitting back relaxing or starting off your morning, whatever the case may be. I truly, really do, from the bottom of my heart, really appreciate all of you joining in. And yeah, this is basically, my recap for the last couple of days. And I've been really enjoying getting back into listening to podcasts myself. And as much as I want to, and I haven't yet, I do want to get back into reading as well, because there's just so many books on my list and so many books on my Kindle and so many books on my bookshelf, and they're all gathering dust, and I just need to get back into it, so no more excuses. Here I go. But I wanted to start off with this idea of breaking from the shadow. So I was listening to, gosh, who was I listening to? It was Abraham Hicks, obviously. And they were talking about the fact that sometimes we get stuck as humans, right? And I can attest to this, like 100% hand to God. I totally have been here so many times in my life. We get stuck in the traumas that we have experienced, the difficult situations that we finally just broken away from. And the minute somebody asks us what's going on, our answer is, oh, I just insert trauma escaped today or this week or this year recently. I left so-and-so because they were toxic. I just finally quit my job because it was soul-sucking and destroying me from the inside out. I finally stood up to a bully. I finally stood up to my parents. I finally put my foot down and decided I was going to draw a boundary. Whatever the case may be, this is usually how we start to describe ourselves. But if we're not careful, there is this tendency for us to kind of get stuck in the way we describe ourselves. I've had so many women come to me as they're telling me what it is that they're going through, because they're trying to give me context. They're trying to let me know, where they stand in life and why it is that they're looking for help, or they're kind of feeling, antsy and desperate because life just can't go on the way that it is. It's just too monotone. It's too mundane and just terrible. They just can't stand it anymore. So when they tell me who they are, it often starts off with, I have survived this, 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 and this, and this. Or I suffer from this, 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 and this, and this. So for example, I had a young lady who was telling me that they were having a tough time explaining that they are an artist at heart and they have been performing forever, because at the moment they aren't performing, and at the moment they had to pick up a regular job because, COVID, circuit breaker, restrictions, they aren't able to go out and do the kind of work that they want to do so desperately, the stuff that they love the most, until the business kind of, picks up a little bit of speed. So they've got a regular job at the moment. And so at the moment they feel obligated to tell people that, yes, I was an actress. Yes, I was a dancer. Yes, I was a musician. And I've been having a really tough time of it because this year has just not been easy for a creative like me. I've built my entire career in an effort to, provide entertainment for people. And right now, even though people still need entertainment, the venues where I would usually frequent or headline or be a, what is that word I'm looking for? Be a resident entertainer are no longer open because, circuit breaker rules state that they can't be so many people in a place at a time, and they don't want the crowding. They don't want to run the risk of people, starting a new outbreak or whatever. So I don't have the forum or the platform I used to have in order to be able to generate income. So I've been suffering a little bit. So when they actually start off, they're talking about, I am no longer this, or I was a former this. And just saying that out of their mouths is also kind of defeating to them. It's kind of breaking their spirit a little bit. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about the fact that we get this tendency where we start off by saying what we didn't do or what we didn't accomplish, or who, what disease we just had, or what we just overcame, or everything to do with describing us becomes part and parcel of the trauma we just experienced. And it takes us a while to process the trauma, and then it takes us even longer after that to let go of that description, so to speak. It's almost like instead of embracing what is now, we're still holding on to what was, and we feel defined by it. And so when I talk about detaching from the shadow, I'm talking about the fact that at some point you're going to stop telling people where you came from and everything you suffered through. You're going to start telling people who you are now. And that's what I want you to focus on, really, because it's a little more uplifting. It's forcing you to embrace a new normal. It's telling you to look at the present circumstances and to count what's left. We talked about this before. Don't count what you've lost, count what's left. And then pick up the pieces that you have left, hold them tight while you gather more and build more. And recreate who you want to be, the life you think you deserve, the life you have been hoping for all this time. Start intentionally putting all that stuff together. And that's all that Abraham was trying to tell us in her discourse that day. She was saying that, we have a tendency to continue speaking with those words that still hold us back, speaking with those words that belong to that one situation that we struggled and clawed our way out of. And so even after the fact, even after the pain, even after the heartbreak, whatever it is that you endured, you still use those words to describe yourself. And it's very self-defeating. It's almost like you, in your heart, want to align yourself with source. You want to, manifest the kind of life where you don't have to worry anymore. You have abundance and spades in every area of your life, and you are just aligned with source, tapped in, tuned in, turned on, excited, just happy, finding more and more excuses to be happy, finding more and more excuses to be around people who help you align to source. And you're just this joyous, jubilant person that you always wanted to be. But when we look back at, the things we have walked through, survived, instead of thriving, we're still talking about surviving. We're still using that same language. So that's the part she was trying to get us to change. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done it so many times myself. I remember for a while, once I actually remembered some of the details that I had blocked out as a child, when I remembered that I'd been sexually abused, suddenly when people asked me who I was, it was, oh, hey, I'm so-and-so. I was born in this country. This is where I've lived since then. And I have, I'm a sex abuse survivor. When I first started coaching, people would ask me, well, how do I know you're a good coach? What have you lived through? Tell me what you've overcome so I can see if you're worth it or have the skills that might be able to, speak to my traumas and demons and whatnot. And it would be like, oh yeah, hey, I studied psychology. I have a master's in education. I am a sex abuse survivor. I am a domestic abuse survivor. I have survived, multiple abortions, unfortunately, abusive relationships, both physically and emotionally abusive. I have lived in 5 different countries. I have been through 9 different schools, 10 different 10 different times before I hit the age of 14, and I've had to learn 7 different languages because this is the kind of school systems that I was in the different countries that I lived in. So these are the things that define me. But if I think about it right now, I am so much more than that. When I came back to Singapore, I started telling people, hey, I did this, and this. I've been overseas for a long time. I'm a local foreigner, I'm from here, but I'm not from here, if you get what I mean. Then they start asking, well, where have you been? And I tell them I've been through these places. And then they said, well, what made you come back? And there it was, the description. Oh, I'm a divorcee now. I divorced my husband and came home with my baby. So now I'm a single mother. And so that became the next description. And I had to, I went through telling people that for a long time. Oh, I'm a single mom. I'm a single mom. I'm a single mom. And it wasn't until I started, deciding that I was tired of saying that, because it has its own connotations in every society. And for my specific society, it wasn't a pretty thing. It was like I was used. And so no one would want me if I was already used, right? So it was a different set of traumas, a different set of descriptions, and slowly but surely I let go of that too, because that's not just who I am. Now, if you ask me, hey, why aren't you married? I'm gonna tell you, hey, I was married, but I'm not anymore. But for now, it's not what I lead with anymore. Now, it's more like I am a mom. I am a big sister. I am totally about community. I am a tribal person. I am a light worker. I am a coach. I am a mentor. I am a emotional intelligence teacher. I am a counselor. I'm a therapist. I'm all of those things. So right now I'm starting to learn that I don't have to lead with my shadow, because I know what my shadow is. I've acknowledged what my shadow is. I've learned whatever I can from my shadow, and I know it's still going to be there as my shadow to teach me more things as new situations pop up. But for now, when people ask me who is Rasati, I tell them I'm a teacher. I'm a mom. I nurture. That's what I do. I am divine feminine. I embody all of that. The Empress card, the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Swords, the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, all of that. I am divine feminine. I am the Empress. I am happy. I am satisfied. I'm still reaching. I still want more, obviously, but I'm satisfied with where I am, and I'm taking the time to appreciate what I have. And it is just the difference in vocabulary that we use that suddenly makes you feel a different way as well. Sometimes it makes you tired to explain yourself as differently abled, or that I suffer from this specific disease, or I am a cancer survivor, or I am, wheelchair bound. Any of those things, when you continually say those things, sometimes it makes you feel bad for a little bit, or it makes you feel like, okay, I have to define myself this way because people won't understand otherwise. But what if you were to start off by saying, hey, who are you? And someone says, hey, I am happy. I am content. I am here right now. I am whole by myself. I am fiercely independent, and I am excited about my prospects for the future, and I am more than I appear to be. I am pushing to learn more. I am forever growing. I am expanding consciousness. I am. What if it was that easy? What if it was just as simple as being happy with the pieces you have left, knowing that there is space for more because you dropped what wasn't fitting, and being on the lookout for what happens next? What if detaching from the shadow meant you made space for all those other things? Not listing them as your list of accomplishments doesn't mean that they don't exist. If I don't lead with, hi, my name is Rasati and I'm 39 years old and I am a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Masters of Education in Informational Technology, certification in Human Resources, Professional Management, and these are my measurements, this is my weight. If I don't list all that stuff off, do you think people would be upset? Do you think they would think of me differently? Or would they still respond if I said, hey, my name is Rasati and I'm your friendly neighborhood Akka. I actually really look forward to conversations, and I swear to God I've never met a stranger, because they're only new for a moment, and then that conversation takes over and, hey, we've been pals forever. I've known you since forever, and I don't feel awkward at all. I could lead off with, hey, my name is Rasati and I'm an introvert, but what does that tell you? That I myself have boxed myself in. So I wonder, if you were detached from your shadow, would that really be a bad thing? I want to give you another scenario. I've had so many people say, you know what, I was so in love with this person and for some reason we broke up, and I don't know, I'm just not over them, and I don't think I ever want to be over them. I think I just want to be here. I'm okay with this. I like the idea of them, and no one will ever measure up anyway, so I'm just gonna be here with them in the memory in the back of my mind. And I'm happy with that. Okay, I understand that. But in the process of continually bringing up that memory and continually keeping them in the back of your mind and continually focusing on that one person that happened to get away or happened to leave you or happened to break your heart, whatever the case may be, right? For example, if I were to focus on my ex-husband, even though right now I'm content, I'm all right, I'm doing fine, I proved him wrong. He told me, if I married him, my life would be infinitely better because everyone who's ever been with him, their lives got better. Guess what? I was with him and it didn't quite get better. And I've left him and I'm finding a way to be better and I'm all right. But let's, for shits and giggles, just say that I was focusing on him and how he was the love of my life and I will never let him go. And here I am in another country on the other side of the world and I'm still pining after him. If I'm holding on to him with one hand, that means I only have one other hand to grasp something new. But if I were to let go of him, I would have two hands, open and ready and available to grasp something new. Sometimes it is the fear of letting go and allowing the unknown to enter into your life because, hey, let's face it, a known devil is better than an unknown devil, right? How many people have Honestly, just really be honest with me. How many of you have held on to a friend even though they mooch off you, they take from you, they ask from you, they beg, borrow, and guilt you into giving for them and making for them and deciding for them and helping them out? How many of you have held on to that person for dear life because you felt like if they weren't around, you would have no one? How many of you, let's be honest again, how many of you have kept your exes close because you felt like you were doing a good thing? You felt like if you could be on good terms with your ex, that means you've healed that process. But that also means that anyone new who would come through would have to deal with the fact that you're still in constant contact with your exes. And that would mean that they would have to get through their own insecurities about the fact that you're still in contact with your exes. I mean, I've had people tell me, yo, you know what? Any man who's had a woman can have that woman again. Well, I mean, that's vice versa as well. But isn't that, I don't know, is that asking for trouble, or is that really letting go? Or is that really that great a friendship that you still are in contact with no problems, no flirting, no, I don't know, innuendo, nothing? You're good? Really? I don't know. Some people can do it and some people can't, but I'm just saying. It's interesting. I've had people who don't want to let go of anybody, or they will stockpile people in their lives. It's almost like they have a person for every use that they may possibly have, for every need that they may possibly have. They have, exes that they keep around, and they have a whole new set of friends that they've just recently acquired because the old set could see through their lies. And they have, a girlfriend here and a playmate there, and they have just people around just in case, because if one person gets tired of them, they have someone else that they can turn to. Why? Because you really truly are afraid of being abandoned. But what if you let go of the shadow? What if you embraced the future? What if you allowed for new to come in and teach you that things are possible, instead of keeping the same situations around you that you can predict to a T, to the minute almost, exactly how it's going to go, exactly how every fight's going to be, exactly how every conversation is going to be. And so you keep them around because at least you know what to expect. Because you don't want to be caught off guard, and you don't want to be swept off your feet, and you don't want to fall head over heels for somebody, because what if they decide they don't want you? Because your trauma is still talking. Because your pain is still right there. But you've convinced yourself that you still need the pain, so you're going to hold on to it because you know it's real. I don't know, y'all. This whole detaching from shadow thing is kind of complicated, but I do understand the benefits of it, because I feel infinite when I let my shadow just be a shadow. And I acknowledge that, yes, it's there. It's going to be there. It's going to be there for the rest of my life. It's attached to my feet. And as I walk away from my shadow, yes, it does follow a little bit, because it is the baggage that I carry. But as long as I'm not dragging it behind me, it follows quietly. Not making a sound, not tripping me up. I'm able to move forward. I can always look back. I can always see where I came from. I can always notice, hey, you know what? Yeah, that happened to me too. Yeah, it hurt and it was tough and I don't know how I got over it. But you know what? I did. One step at a time, one day at a time, one moment at a time. So for me, detaching from the shadow, where I no longer define myself by the things I've survived, has been a great weight lifted off of me. It's not like, it's almost as if, okay, I'll put it to you this way. When I detached from shadow, as in I don't hold my shadow or clutch it to my bosom anymore. It's there. I acknowledge it. It's okay. It just walks behind me, just as a shadow should. Once I learned how to do that, it was almost as if I didn't need to break out my toolkit to pick myself up all the time, because I didn't feel the need to look down into my sorrows and analyze them again and try really hard to feel all those feelings because I'm trying to figure out if it was real or not. I don't have to go through that anymore. I don't have to pull up the same old songs that make me sad and watch the same old scenes that remind me of my relationships. And I don't have to revisit on purpose all of these things because I feel like I should be sad, because I feel guilty if I don't feel sad. I went through that too. I really did. I felt guilty if I didn't feel sad, because here I was. How could I be happy if I left someone behind? How could I be happy if I left 2 stepchildren behind and they would have been heartbroken? How could I possibly move on and be happy with my child? That's not fair. I should feel guilty. I should feel something for that. And how could I, even though there were a lot of days that were very, very difficult for me, how could I speak about my husband in that way, my ex-husband, in a manner that painted him as the villain in my story? Even though there were some good there were always some good moments. There will always be some good moments. But unfortunately, at some point, the bad outweighed the good, and I had to fight to remember on purpose the good in order to clear the day itself. So when I decided to let go of the shadow, when I discovered how to do that for myself, I realized it took less effort for me to be happy. There was no guilt. There was no shame. I understood what I was capable of. I had made amends. I had made peace with the people that I thought I should feel guilty and ashamed for having left behind. I made sure that I did right by them somehow. I made sure that I told them I loved them as much as I could. And I did right by them. I taught them all that I possibly could before I left. So at some point, I realized I was dragging this thing behind me in an effort to put my place in the world into context, where I didn't have to do that at all. I just was, and that was enough. I survived. Now it's time to thrive. Now it's time for me to count the blessings I do have and make room for more. It's time for me to be in the present moment, accept what is, enjoy what is, and redefine myself without my shadow. Now, if you ask the question, I have nothing to hide, I will still tell you what my shadows are. But I don't have to lead with them. And that's the part I'm asking you to discover for yourself. Do you think you could leave your shadow behind? How would you describe yourself if it wasn't for the fact that you aren't who you used to be anymore? You aren't your disease. You aren't your abilities. You aren't your skill sets. You aren't your trauma. How would you describe yourself then? Because I, for one, would be fascinated to hear that story. And I hope you take the time to figure that out for yourself. All right, y'all, I'm going to call it a night. And I hope you have a marvelous, marvelous day. I'll catch you later. Bye.